Shalom, today is October 18th and it is day 378 of the war in Israel, and there's big headlines in the newspaper today. Here we go. Hasatan me'aza chusal. Satan is Satan, the devil, or Satan from Gaza, has been assassinated. And here he is, Yahya Sinwar, or as they call him, the rat or the mouse, was assassinated. This was 2 days ago, but yesterday it was confirmed that Yahya Sinwar was killed by IDF soldiers, and this is the historic pictures of IDF soldiers standing above him. You can just imagine the feelings of these soldiers standing over the number one wanted terrorist in Gaza. It reads, it's the most dramatic moment of the war. Adrichal is the architect of the 7th of October massacre and one of the biggest oppressors that the Jewish people knew. He was killed with a run-in into the IDF soldiers, a random run-in next to Rafah. A year after the terror group turned against Israel, most of its leaders are assassinated. The first headline, מהפעולה המפתיעה, from the surprising moment of action until the final identification, כך חוסל יחיא סינואר. This is how Yahya Sinwar was assassinated. In the photograph, we see Yahya Sinwar on the stretcher being carried out by the IDF soldiers. The subheadline is an explanation about the assassination. Let's go stage by stage. This action was in Tel Sultan neighborhood in western Rafah. Nobody knew that Sinwar was actually there, but the soldiers there were working persistently, not allowing any terrorists to leave, and basically making that area clean. They did not know number one wanted terrorist was there. It says here explicitly. Hamechaslim, the ones who actually assassinated him, were fighter soldiers from one of the simple brigades that have been working there for a while. They're not from an elite unit or something, and that's interesting in itself. The event is this, that 2 days ago, 3 p.m., the IDF forces noticed two people covered with blankets trying to look as if they're hostages, with a third terrorist behind them, kind of hiding and walking behind them. The soldiers shoot them. The terrorists split into two different buildings, and at 4 p.m., an hour later, the IDF forces shoot a shell and matador rockets to these buildings, hopefully to kill these terrorists. Afterwards, infantry soldiers go into this building where Sinwar is to make sure to search the area and make sure everything is clean and the terrorists are dead. Sinwar is alive. He rolls 2 grenades from the top of the stairs. One of the grenades does not explode. The soldiers leave quickly to keep themselves safe, and the IDF force shoots another matador on the building, and it crashes, or parts of it fall in. At 5 p.m., the IDF force sends a drone to scout out the area, and it notices a terrorist, Sinwar, without an arm. We see here Sinwar, his face is covered, his right arm is cut off, his left hand tries to grab a keresh. Keresh is a piece of wood, throws it towards the drone. He does not hit the drone. Yeah, and that's him. The IDF soldiers do not yet know that he is Sinwar. The next text is about the identification process. Because of all of the explosives in this building, as also the Air Force was involved, a tank was involved, infantry was involved, there's a lot of explosive in the building, and bodies as well. Drones came early the next morning. Drones entered to search and scout the area first. By those photographs of the drone, some of the soldiers noticed that this may be Sinwar. The photograph that the drone took was sent to the police that approved or that identified it according to the photograph of his teeth, that this is the number one terrorist. Part of his finger was cut off as well in his left hand to be sent into Israel to match his fingerprint. We need to remember Sinwar was held in prison for 22 years in Israel, and all of his DNA and his teeth his teeth x-rays and his fingerprints are all in Israel's system. So it was easy to identify him according to the teeth photographs and the fingerprints. And yesterday, the body was moved into Israel for a final identification of the DNA. And yes, this is Sinwar. HaChatufim, the hostages. So no hostages were found in that building. No hostages were with him. And it says he was not planning on this kind of death. He was in a random building, fleeing from the IDF. Passports were found, a lot of money was found. It looks like he was trying to escape this area for a safer place. He was with two terrorists that were supposedly supposed to protect him. So he really died in a way that he did not plan and did not hope for. And he knew he was caught. He had a few hours knowing that he's going to be caught, and he was wounded, he was hurt, and then he was killed. The opinion articles in this newspaper are speaking about that there's a sense of justice here, that this is an opportunity to free the hostages, that this is an opportunity for a strategic move, and that the real question is, how do we use this incident, this assassination of #1 terrorist that we've been searching for a whole year, how do we use this for Israel's benefit? Will the government decide to finish the war? Will the government decide to end the war in Gaza and continue Lebanon? Or Hezbollah? Will the government decide to end 2 of the fronts? There are a lot of questions that we do not know yet what will be decided. We can pray for wisdom. We can pray for understanding of the times. By the way, here's a photograph of Sinwar walking in the tunnels with some of his children in the front. This is one of the iconic photographs that we caught of Sinwar during the war. Now, there's still 101 hostages in Gaza, dead and alive. And here, the opinion article says that there is not going to be a full circle until these hostages come back to us. And will the assassination of Sinwar make it easier for us? Perhaps. Or harder, because there's no order, and the little bit that's remained from the military wing of Hamas that's holding the hostages, are they really in control of these hostages? How many hostages are really in conditions under certain Hamas people that the IDF can come and just take over and kill? But the assassination of Sinwar may allow for an easier negotiation, because Sinwar was extremely strict, very evil, very harsh in his negotiation. It was hard to reach him. He was writing sometimes with pencil and paper. We had to wait weeks for his answers. So all that is finished, and the next leader that might be his younger brother, Muhammad Sinwar, they hope that he'll be much more moderate, but we don't really know. Up here, before I turn the page, up here there's a long list of the top senior terrorists that were assassinated by Israel in the last year. We won't go name by name, but let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the 10th is Yahya Sinwar. Alongside this picture of victory, still the war in Lebanon is going on. It's going on strong against Hezbollah. And in the evening of Sukkot, five soldiers from the elite unit of the Golani Brigade were killed. They were in a building searching for terrorists. The terrorists died, but so did 5 of them, and 5 others were injured, and 2 of them were in critical condition. And these guys are, the personal stories about them are incredible. They call them Melach Haaretz, the salt of the earth. Well-trained, well-equipped, wonderful people, and young men in Israel. We can just say their names. It is Ofek Bachar and Elad Simantov, Eliashiv Eitan, Yehuda Dror, and Yaakov Halel. They're in their 20s, younger 20s, and this was a very hard battle, and it's under investigation. How did this happen? Because the intelligence led these soldiers, this unit, to go and search in the specific building in South Lebanon for terrorist infrastructure. It was bombed from the air first as well, and still 4 terrorists were able to hide there and survive. And when these great soldiers came in as a force to look for weapons, they knew there were some tunnels there, tunnel shafts there. 4 terrorists surprised them. They opened and fired from a very close range. It was a hard battle. 5 were dead, 5 others were injured, and 3 of them are in critical condition. So the IDF is investigating what happened here. How did they not have good enough intelligence that these 4 terrorists were inside? Now, the Golani Brigade, or specifically the elite commander unit, has been working for 2 weeks now in South Lebanon and has been taking down many Hezbollah terrorists. And they're doing an excellent job here. And it reads about just a lot of their activity on ground in villages, searching for terrorists and tunnel shafts leading into Israel. There are so many, even in Lebanon, and other weapons and ammunition. More about Sinwar, but part of it is the hostage families that are saying here. This is a quote: "Sinwar has been assassinated, so the excuses are finished. This is the time to bring back the hostages." And this goes alongside with the voices that say we need to, not only the hostage families, even from the government, we need to do everything to get the hostages back home, to lift as many phone calls as we can, to start an immediate masa umatan, a deal to bring back our hostages as quickly as possible, to use this special momentum where Hamas is just in shock. And not much of Hamas is left, specifically when their great leader that has survived for a whole year is dead. And here it says Khusal. Khusal means assassinated. Sinwar. And a little bit about the butcher from Gaza, as they call him, Katsav, it's butcher, or the Adrichal. Adrichal means architect. They mean of the October 7th massacre. It is the head of all Meratzchim, the head of all murderers. Here he is. Let's speak a little bit about his profile. This killer was given 5 life sentences for cruelly killing Meshatfei Peula. Meshatfei Peula are cooperators, meaning Palestinians that cooperated with Israel. So because he killed about 10 Palestinians that cooperated with Israel. He was sitting in jail. While he was there, he went through a surgery because he had a growth in his brain, and Israel took care of that in a hospital and saved his life. In 2011, he's released from the Israeli prison in the Gilad Shalit deal. Gilad Shalit, just to remind us, was a soldier that was kidnapped, and he was released for over 1,000 terrorists and killers from the Israeli prisons, Palestinian terrorists. There he is, very happy, and he was calling everybody else, all the Palestinians and Hamas, to kidnap as many people as they can in the next years, so that more Palestinian prisoners will be released. In 2017, he's chosen to be the leader of Hamas in Gaza. On October 16th, 2024, he was assassinated by the Israeli Defense Force in Rafah. And they end here writing that Sinwar was on Israeli targets since October 7th, and right now that he has been assassinated. His younger brother, who is the most senior one of Hamas right now in Gaza, Muhammad Sinwar, 48 years old, he's probably going to be the next target for the Israeli Defense Forces. And to the last story, that's a different kind of good news, is about the north getting ready for the return of the residents. It reads, Tzov'im et ha'atid, painting the future. And this is one of the villages and towns in the north that's preparing for the return of their residents. They're hopeful, they're optimistic, and they're painting on this wall, that's a defense wall. It's used to protect them from gunshots. It reads, Kama tov shebata habaita, how good it is that you came home. And they say that they chose to paint on this wall images that do them well, that do them good, that calm them. They love the avocado trees that are very common up there that they use. Here we see the yellow ribbon that symbolizes the hostages, that their heart is with the hostages, wanting their return. They haven't forgotten them, but here they're welcoming back their people. They're not yet back, but hopefully they will come back in the very near future. This is it for today. Continue to pray for Israel, because God is fighting for Israel. The astonishing fact that Sinwar was caught in between the 2-year marks of the year since October 7th, meaning the international calendar, we marked 1 year on October 7th, and the Hebrew calendar, Simchat Torah. And between those 2 times, Sinwar was caught. It was given to us. It seems that it was no coincidence. God is fighting for us. So thank you for standing for Israel. And I do want to say, I personally got a special phone call from one of our followers. His name is Danny from Australia, saying how much he appreciates the channel, and to know that we're getting so much support and encouragement and viewers from all across the world, and that so many people across the world are standing with Israel. This is just very heartwarming, and we hope that this crowd that supports Israel will continue to grow. And those who are on the fence, that are not knowing what to do or who to believe to, we pray for them to move to the right side of the map. So thank you again. Continue to follow us on our social media. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and share All Israel News with your friends and family. I'm Rotem again for All Israel News.